doesn't hurt your, hand count. You can only coordinate one card to each player on their turn. However, multiple players can each coordinate one card to the player whose turn it is in order to give that player a huge advantage. So, you can only play one coordinate card for each other player's individual turn. But multiple people could do that. I think that makes sense. At first I wasn't sure, and we just got a lot of coordinate cards because we messed it up. And would play in a 2-player game like 3 coordinate cards for each other player, for each other on each turn, which obviously you can't do. When you play a coordinated card, coordinate a card to a player, they can choose not to play a copy of it, basically choose not to get the effects of it. Either way, you still draw a replacement card. Example of coordinating is player A's turn. Player B decides to coordinate the card, find it, and kill it. Player B sets aside the card face up, draws a replacement card, and tells player A. Player C decides to coordinate as well. Player C sets aside the company's orders, draws a replacement card, and tells player A. Player A now copies both of the coordinated cards, gaining 2 attack from the first one, and 2 recruit from the second. Even better, since Find It and Kill It has that red symbol card that allows him to trigger the First Aid survival ability, which heals a strike from any player, at the end of player A's turn. The player B coordinated goes to player B's discard pile, and the player C coordinated goes to player C's discard pile. So yeah, just basically play cards, one for each other player's turn on their turn. During their turn, you get to draw a replacement immediately, and they get the bonuses from it, including, the character card bonus, the class and crew. Here's another special ability. Vigilant. Vigilant characters can stay in play longer than one turn. When you play a vigilant character, leave it in play in front of you like a normal card. However, at the end of your turn, when you discard your cards and draw a new card, leave your vigilant card in play. Most vigilant cards let you discard them in order to get an effect, such as gaining attack or avoiding a strike. On the turn you play a vigilant character, it helps you trigger class and crew abilities. However, on later turns, while a vigilant card remains in play, it won't help you trigger those abilities. So that's an important thing that I think I've missed before. The vigilant card is one that you can play down, and you don't have to use its abilities until later. So if it gave you more strikes, and you had to kill a big monster, a big alien, you could save it and then accumulate it for the next turn, and use, your new hand plus this vigilant card from last turn to kill the big alien. But the class or crew combo bonus, or trigger that it could potentially give, only works on the turn you played it down. If an effect says to do something to one of your characters, and this includes characters in your hand, characters you played this turn, and any vigilant characters that you have in play, if you need to show a character for an effect, you can show one of your vigilant cards. So, one of your characters basically means everything except your deck and discard pile. So it includes your hand, cards in front of you, and vigilant characters. Sacrifice. Some cards allow you to sacrifice them to get a special effect. Play the card as normal, then any time on your turn, you can kill the card, putting it into the dead character's space to get its sacrifice effect. When you sacrifice a card, you still get to keep any recruitment points, attack, or once this turn abilities it generated that turn. It also still counts for the purposes of triggering other cards, class, or crew abilities. The main difference is that it's just going to be destroyed at the end of the turn, rather than merely discarded. Don't get to reshuffle back in if you use sacrifice. Mobilize. A mobilized character grants you a special ability as soon as you gain the character. When you recruit or otherwise gain a character with Mobilize. After you refill the HQ, you get its Mobilize text immediately. You must use the Mobilize ability unless it says you may. Once you gain a Mobilize character, you ignore its Mobilize text from then on. So Mobilize just gives you the bonus as soon as you draft it, as soon as you gain it from the Mobilize text. Facehuggers and Chestbursters. Facehuggers work differently than other aliens. Whenever one is revealed, it gets placed right in front of the player whose turn it is. This represents the facehugger trying to attach itself to that player. That player can fight it and kill it that turn, if possible. If that player can't kill it, the next player is allowed to fight it on their turn. If neither player can kill it, the facehugger impregnates the initial player. So, I actually got this wrong before. I thought it was you had until your next turn to kill it. But it sounds like you actually just have your turn and the next player's turn to kill it. The facehugger impregnates the initial player. The facehugger dies and goes to the dead enemy space. Then, that player puts a Chestburster card from the hatchery into his or her discard pile. If there's only one player left in the game, and that player reveals a facehugger, they will have this turn and the next one to kill it. So, basically there's just 2 total turns to kill a facehugger. Facehuggers can't be moved by player effects, like the electric prod. If multiple facehuggers impregnate a player on the same turn, they all die, but the player only gains 1 Chestburster card. Beware, facehuggers can show up from unexpected places without warning. Chestburster. That means the alien facehugger laid its seed inside of you and is getting ready, is impregnated you, ready to burst down. Oops. When you gain a Chestburster, the following things happen. Enemies will no longer strike you. You're part of the family now. If a facehugger would be placed in front of you, it moves on to the next player, because they don't need to impregnate you further. You're already knocked up. That player still has only this turn and the next one before he or she gets impregnated. If there is no other player to move on to, the facehugger dies. The moment you draw the Chestburster, it claws its way out of your chest and you die horribly. So it goes in your discard pile, and after it gets reshuffled in, then you draw it, you're dead. But sometimes there are cards that can kill a card in your deck or discard pile, I believe. So a Chestburster in your deck means you're probably, or your discard pile means you're probably going to die horribly, but there's still a possible hope that you can kill it. If you're playing with the alien player advanced rules, you now get to re-enter the game as an alien. Otherwise, you're simply out of the game. So most times, dying, you're simply out of the game. So it is a player elimination game. But if you play with the alien advanced rules, and you die from a Chestburster, you come back as an alien player. Example of a facehugger plus Chestburster. Player A expends some attack to scan the med labs. This reveals the hidden card there, and it's a facehugger. Player A puts the facehugger right next to his avatar. Player A realizes he doesn't have enough attack to kill it and starts to panic. He takes the rest of his turn and then looks at the next player. Player B, hey, can you kill this thing? Player B takes her turn. She realizes she doesn't have enough attack to kill the facehugger. I'm sorry, I can't help you. At the end of Player B's turn, the facehugger impregnates Player A. The facehugger dies and goes to the dead enemy space. Then Player A puts a Chestburster from the hatchery into his discard pile. If the player can find a way to remove the Chestburster from Player A's deck or discard pile, he'll be alright. Otherwise, when he draws it, he immediately dies. Additional rules. Players fight players. Sometimes a player might want to fight another player. The main reasons to do this are when you're playing with the advanced rules for hidden agendas or alien players. Which, hidden agenda means you could have a secret traitor, potentially. Alien player is just a bad guy who wants everyone else to die. And the game's already hard enough without them, but if you want to, you could go for them. You could even house rule to make it easier to include them, but I haven't tried it that much yet. During your turn, you can fight another player by spending attack equal to that player's defense value. That player must then draw a strike card. You can attack another player as many times as you like on a turn, as long as you can spend enough attack each time. So, you have to do attack damage equal to their armor, and that's where it would come up as PvP, player versus player. Your characters. If an effect refers to your characters, this includes any character in your hand, as well as any characters you've played this turn. It also counts any vigilant characters you have. The characters in your deck and discard pile do not count. Copies of characters, such as a card that was coordinated to you, also do not count. So even if you're using a special ability of a coordinate card, someone used it, you get to play the card effectively. It doesn't count as your characters. Kill. In addition to spending attack to kill enemies, there are many effects that say to kill certain cards. Killed enemies go to the dead enemy space, and killed characters go to the dead character space. So dead characters is worse than discard pile because you don't reshuffle it in. Dead enemies is where they would go if you killed it either way, because you're not reshuffling the hatchery. The hatchery isn't a deck building thing like your deck is. And if killed, if a chestburster gets killed, put it back into the hatchery. And if somehow a hazard or event gets killed, put it into the discarded events / hazard space. If a card says to kill one of your characters, you can kill a character in your hand, or one you've already played this turn. If you kill one you've already played this turn, you still get to use the recruit points, attack, and special abilities of the character produced, including once this turn abilities. It also still counts for the purpose of triggering another card's class or crew ability. Killing some of the basic colonial marines, specialists, and grunts you start with can actually be very good, since it means you will draw your more powerful cards more often, instead of drawing the weaker marines. The specialists and grunts you start with, as well as the sergeants you recruit, all have the kind of marine crew symbol. And so they're all marines. Specialists, grunts you start with, and then the sergeants that are relatively cheap you can hire. Specialists and grunts have no character class, but there are sergeants with each of the 5 character classes. So the sergeants have a mishmash of all the character classes, but all 3 of these basic kind of types have the same kind of starting crew symbol, because they're all, basic marines, your bread and butter in a sense. Gaining cards. When you gain a card, put it into your discard pile. After you shuffle your deck, you'll be able to draw that card. Running out of cards in the hive deck. Often the hive deck will run out while the players are struggling to defeat the final enemy. If you need to add hive cards and the hive deck is empty, take all of the shuffled cards in the dead enemy space, shuffle them together, and make a new hive deck. It's an unlikely event that the hive deck runs out a second time. If that happens, the aliens have overrun the players and the players all die. I don't ever think that will happen, but maybe some fluke will. But basically what this is saying is that if your hatchery, hive rather, I think I said hatchery a couple times, been hive. If your hive runs out, you just reshove all the enemies, but you leave out the things like other things that showed up, like objective type cards, objectives, hazards, and events, and allies who showed up. So it's just kind of pure enemies come at that point. Running out of cards in the barracks deck. If the barracks runs out, keep playing normally, except the HQ, which is the character cards from the barracks on offer, will no longer refill. And once there are no longer cards in the HQ, you will no longer be able to recruit characters other than sergeants. Running out of cards in the sergeant's deck. Same thing, you just run out of sergeant cards and you can't recruit them. Run out of cards in the strike deck. When this deck runs out, immediately shuffle all of the discarded strikes to make a new strike deck. Special abilities on cards. Cards can override the rules of the game. If one card says you can't do something, another card tells you you can do it. Can't beats can. So that's fairly common in games, but not universal. That is a negative and a positive. The negative is the deal breaker, the one that gets deciding factor. If a card tells you to do something and you can't do all of it, then do as much of it as you can. For example, if a card tells you to discard 2 cards from your hand, you only have 1 card, just discard 1 card. If a card requires a choice and it's not clear who should make the choice, then the player whose turn it is makes the choice. If a card instructs you to do something and it's not clear who it refers to the player whose turn it is. Show a card. This just means to show the other players that you have a particular card. You don't have to play it or discard it. You can also show a card that is already in play, including vigilant cards. So, it just means your cards. Cards out in front of you in play, vigilant cards, or in your hand. Everything but deck and discard. Once this turn, most of the card abilities take place immediately when you play the card. However, some cards say, once this turn, which means that you can choose to use the ability later on. Where am I going with this? You can choose to use that ability later on during your action phase instead of right away. However, once you get to the strike phase part of the turn, it's too late to use it. Next player. Some effects refer to the next player. Usually this means that the player who is next to act. However, if there's only one player left in the game, whether because you're playing solo or because everyone else is dead, the next player refers to you. For example, if an effect says, you and the next player each draw a strike, then you would draw 2 strikes. You wouldn't just, there's no next player. Nope, it comes back around to you. Enemy gets -2 attack. Some effects reduce an enemy's attack. It can never go below 0. When you fight an enemy, if its attack is 0, you can kill it without using any attack, any attack currency. So you basically just get to auto-kill it on your turn. Attach to a room. Some cards tell you to attach it to a room. In this case, put it in that room of the complex, but slide it up a bit. This way other cards can still go into that room on top of the attached card, but the attached card's name is still visible. The attached card doesn't count as being in that room. It's kind of describing a context or condition or influence of that room now, but it's not like an enemy taking it up. Clear room. A room is considered clear if there is no card in that room. A room that has an attached card can still be clear if there is no other card in it. If a room gets blocked by an effect, it is removed from the game and never counts as being clear. So clear means, nothing walking through it. Except, attached cards won't count towards that. By no enemies or events or whatever walking through it. Since attached to a room doesn't count as being in a room, therefore you can still be clear. Copying a card. Some effects allow you to copy a card. Whenever you copy a card, pretend as though you just played that card. You get all of the recruit points, attack, and special abilities, including any class or crew abilities it has, and keywords such as sacrifice. A copy of a card can't be killed or discarded. Do not move. Some enemies don't move. If another card tries to enter its space, leave it where it is and have the other card skip over it to the next space. Does not strike. Now that's important about skipping over it. It doesn't clog up the hive. They keep moving, they just skip over it. Does not strike. Some enemies don't strike. Just ignore that enemy during the strike phase. Double strike and triple strike. When an enemy with double strike strikes you, you draw 2 strike cards instead of 1. If it triple strikes you, you draw 3 strikes instead of 1. That makes sense. Strike abilities. Some enemies have strike abilities. When these enemies strike you, in addition to drawing a strike, follow the instructions on the card. So most of these things we just went over. These clarifications are pretty self-explanatory. Area abilities. Some cards have abilities which are only active while the card is in a certain area. They look like this: complex, operations, or combat zone. So it gives you the ability, the ability happens based on where it is. Event abilities. Some enemies have abilities that trigger when an event is revealed. When an event is revealed, first resolve the event trigger on the objective, then resolve it on any enemies in play. Special hive cards. Some cards in the hive are marked as special. Just follow the instructions on these cards when they're revealed. Pay star abilities. Some cards let you pay star, which is recruit or influence, in order to get an effect. In this case, just spin the star and follow the instructions. So there are alternative things to do with recruit power, star, influence, besides drafting or gaining new characters. Grown in a lab. Grown in a lab becomes a clone of another card you played this turn. In this case, it gains the stats, text, class, and crew and character name, etc. of the card you're cloning. However, it also still counts as a Ripley card for the purpose of the cards like Acid Blood or the Newborn. Ventilation Lock. One card, Ventilation Lock, can block the ventilation shafts. When this happens, that room no longer exists. Put the current objective card, no one can hear you scream, on that room, and then put the whole hive deck on top of it. Deck labels. Most cards in the game have a label on the room that makes it easy to tell where a card belongs. This is especially useful when you're cleaning up and reorganizing a finished game. And that's at the bottom of the card. Timing. If a card tells multiple players to do something at the same time, first the player whose turn it is does it. Then the other players do it in clockwise order. So starting with the player whose turn it is and going clockwise, you do it in that order. If multiple cards are moved into the combat zone at the same time, turn the first one face up if necessary and resolve any reveal, triggers, or its hazard or event ability. Then turn the next card face up and so on. So even if they would both go in at the same time, resolve its stuff that happens when it goes into the combat zone in the order it shows up in there, one at a time. If multiple effects occur at the same time, and it's not clear what order to resolve them in, the player whose turn it is chooses the order. Here we have the character classes and the crews. There's 5 character classes, 5 crews. Character classes. Intel. Characters are the best at gaining information, scanning rooms, and drawing cards. Leadership characters excel at generating extra recruit points and gaining extra characters. Strength characters are great at generating attack and killing cards you no longer want in your deck. Survival characters avoid drawing strikes and can heal players. Tech characters are jacks of all trades who can dabble in the effects of other classes as well as do some unique things like move enemies or copy other cards if you play this turn. Crews. Nostromo. We'll move in pairs. We'll go step by step and cut off every bulkhead and every vent till we have it cornered. Then we'll blow it out into space. Warrant Officer Ripley. Sulaco? I forget. Solaso. We've got tactical smart missiles, phase plasma, pulse rifles, RPGs. We got sonic electric ball breakers. We got nukes. We got knives, sharp sticks. Private Hudson. Fury 161. You're all gonna die. The only question is how you check out. You want it on your feet or on your knees begging? I ain't much for begging. Nobody ever gave me nothing. So I say fuck that thing. Let's fight it. Brother Dylan. The Betty. Hey Ripley, I heard you ran these things before. So what did you do? I died. Johnner and Ripley number 8. Colonial Marines. Alright, sweethearts. We are a team, and there's nothing to worry about. We come here, and we're gonna conquer, and we're gonna kick some ass? Is that understood? Sergeant Avon. Okay, advanced rules. There are rules you should only use once you feel like you have mastered the game. That's what these are. Advanced rule, player aliens. There's a monster in your chest. It's a really nasty one. And in a few hours, it's going to burst through your ribcage, and you're going to die. Any questions? Ripley number 8. In the standard rules, when a player dies to a chest burster, they're out of the game. Just like if they die from strike damage. With this optional rule, when a player dies to a chest burster, they get to re-enter the game on their next turn as an alien player. Here's how it looks. When you die, remove your avatar and all your cards, deck, hand, etc. from the game. Choose a random alien avatar. Shuffle the 36 alien player deck, a 36 card alien player deck, and draw a hand of 6 cards. You now have a new goal: kill the rest of the players. Do the following on each of your turns in this order. Play any number of cards from your hand. 2. Discard each card you played and any that are left in your hand and draw a new hand of 6 cards. You don't have to do anything else on your turns, like having a hive or strike phase. So you just play, then discard and draw. Pretty simple. If your deck runs out, reshuffle it just like you would a regular player. Players can players can fight you by spending attack equal to your defense number. Each time you attack this way, draw a strike. Ignore any text on that strike, but if it has a damage number of 1 or higher, put it next to your avatar. So as an alien player, you just take the damage from the strike cards, but not any special effects otherwise. If you ever have strike damage greater than or equal to your health, you die. Remove your deck, hand, and discard pile from the game, but leave any cards that you might have put onto the board out. You no longer count as a player for the purposes of game effects. If any effect says something happens to the next player, and it would have been you, it skips you and goes to the next player after you. Note, some cards refer specifically to an alien player. If an event or hazard is revealed, treat it as though the next player revealed it. It refers to them, and they may make decisions on it. If you would ever receive a facehugger, give it to the next player instead. If at any point all players in the game are alien players, the game ends. Advanced rule: hidden agendas. You know, Burke, I don't know what species is worse. You don't see them screwing each other over for a goddamn percentage. Ellen Ripley. As if a horde of aliens wasn't enough, now there might be a traitor in your midst. The hidden agenda rules add an element of secrecy and suspense among players. Agenda cards. At the beginning of the game, after players have selected their roles and built their 13 card starting decks, do the following. Without looking at them, randomly select one of the 10 good agenda character cards for each player, but don't give them out yet. Without looking at them, randomly select one of the 5 evil agenda character cards. Shuffle the one evil card with the good agenda's card. Then deal 1 out to each player. Put the remaining card back in the game box without looking at it. It won't be used this game. If that was an evil card, it means there's no traitor in the game, but the players don't know that yet. So, kind of like the base rules for Shadows over Camelot, you have a chance that there is no evil card, evil agenda, but you still think there is. Players now look at their agenda cards to find out if they are evil this game. Then each player puts their agenda card face down underneath their avatar. They can look at it at any time during the game. You may not reveal your agenda card to other players. If you received a good agenda, you're playing the normal game and you win by completing all 3 objectives. If you received an evil agenda, you're playing a very different game. You are secretly working for the company. By any means necessary, you want all the other players to die, so an alien specimen can be acquired. Once everyone else is dead, you must then call in the rescue team from the company. The name of each agenda describes the personality of your character. For example, you might be a ruthless gunner or a fearless scout. Secrets reveal. During setup, set aside secrets reveal cards equal to the number of players. Each of these replaces one of the drone cards in the hive decks you'll use this game. Let's make sure I understand that. During setup, set aside secrets revealed cards equal to the number of players. Each of these replaces one of the drone cards in the hive decks you'll use this game. Okay. For example, in a 3-player game, you would normally use a total of 9 drone cards. But in a 3-player game with hidden agendas, you would use 3 secrets revealed cards and 6 drone cards. In a 4-player game, you use 4 secrets revealed cards and 8 drone cards, etc. During the and I guess you still shuffle up all those cards together, and then sprinkle them throughout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each objective, as you would normally, but you don't know which are drone and which are secrets revealed. During the game, when a secrets reveal card is revealed, the player whose turn it is must reveal the agenda card of any one player, including their own, that hasn't been revealed yet. Then put the secrets revealed card aside for the remainder of the game. It won't be used again. When a player's agenda card is revealed, 2 things happen. It shows everyone else whether the player is a traitor or not. That player then gains their agenda card, character card. It goes into their discard pile and works just like a character card. So, that's pretty cool if they become more powerful if you reveal that they're good or even if they're evil potentially. When a player dies. If a player dies and their agenda hasn't been revealed yet, it gets revealed at that time. When the player with the evil agenda dies, the good players don't need to kill the evil player. They can win by completing their 3 objectives, whether or not the traitor is still alive. However, if the evil player dies, not only does he remove a big threat to the team, but it buys the player some extra time. Shuffle each enemy and hidden card in the complex together and put them on top of the deck. Okay, so that's a big bonus to killing the traitor. When everyone but the traitor dies. Now all the traitor needs to do is play their agenda card to win the game. This represents the company showing up to collect an alien specimen and rescuing the traitor. Alternate victory. Agenda cards count as character cards, so it's possible for them to be killed. If the evil player's agenda card gets killed, he can still win the game. All other players must be dead, and the evil player must complete all 3 objectives. This represents the evil player being left on his own by the company, such that he might fight his way out to survive. That's weird. So, he could still win the game single-handedly, but if his agenda dies, if he beats it on his own, when everyone dies, sometimes the good player might kill the evil player or vice versa, but then the aliens overrun the survivors. In this case, everyone loses, just like in the regular game. When there's an alien player and a traitor, in this case, things aren't going great for the good guys. The traitor doesn't need to kill the alien player in order to win the game. The alien player has the option to try and hurt whomever he wants. But does the alien player need to, kill the traitor? I guess he does. It makes sense that he would. I'm not sure I fully get that. I'll have to check an FAQ. At the beginning of the game is gameplay tips. You don't know who you can trust unless you're the evil player. You can attack other players if you want, but you'll risk hurting a potential ally, or possibly revealing something about your agenda. When you reveal a secrets revealed card, it's great to try and find the evil player, because everyone can start fighting him, and the good players will now stop coordinating with or otherwise helping him. But it can also be beneficial to reveal yourself. Not only will you get to put your agenda card into your deck, but if you're good, other good players will know that you're on their team. We recommend playing several games of the regular game without hidden agendas before trying them. They often make the game much harder, as you're not sure who you can trust. At any moment, a player might betray everyone. Table talk and etiquette. In the regular game, players are allowed to say anything they want, and even show each other their hands. When playing with hidden agendas, use the following etiquette. Players may not reveal their agenda cards or discuss any details of their agenda card, such as its name, stats, or game text, or I would say art as well, if there is any, about their agenda card. It is okay to ask a player if he's good or evil, although the player doesn't have to answer, and can certainly lie. Players may lie about their hands or intentions. Players must reveal each other's cards they play during their turn. Each player's discard pile is public information and can be looked through by anyone at any time. Delayed hidden agendas. This is a variation or variant of hidden agendas, where players are not allowed to look at their own agenda card until a secrets revealed card is played on them. This way, you might not even realize you're a bad guy. In this variation, finding out you're evil represents the company sending you special orders to you to kill everyone else right in the middle of the game after they've learned about the alien's existence. Alright, moving to adjusting difficulty. The game can be very hard, especially for newer players. Some objectives and locations are harder than others, and some combinations of characters and roles work better than others. In addition to trying different combinations, here are some ways to make the game easier or harder. To make the game easier, do one or more of these. During setup, shuffle extra drone cards into each Hive mini-deck. The more drones you use, the easier the game. We recommend starting with one extra drone per mini-deck. Treat each player's defense value as extra health. That's cool. Give each player 1 or 2 free preparation turns where they get to skip the Hive phase. To make the game harder, do one or more of these. During setup, don't shuffle in as many drone cards. The fewer drone cards, the harder the game. We recommend starting by removing 1 drone card per mini-deck. During setup, put cards from the Hive deck down into the complex. The more cards, the harder the game. For those last two, I would say that they're unnecessary if you get the expansion because, or even without it possibly, because not only is the game hard enough without increasing the difficulty, but the expansion gives more interesting ways to increase the difficulty, if that's what you want to do. And also, if you want to increase the difficulty, you must be good at it enough that it might be worthwhile just to go ahead and play with the hidden agendas or alien players as the way to do it, because simply reducing drones further or showing preemptively up with bad guys in the complex doesn't seem as interesting a way to do it to me, but I could be wrong on that. If your experience is different, let me know for sure. Scoring. If you'd like to keep your score for your games, use these rules. These are especially good if you play a series of hidden agenda games to determine an overall winner. Regular game. No hidden agendas. If the players lose, they score 0 points. If the players win, they score 1 point each for each player that survived. Dead players still get their points unless they turn to alien players. Alien players can never score points. Their goal is to deny everyone else points. Hidden agenda game. If the good players lose, they score 0 points. If the good players win, and there was no player with an evil agenda, they score 1 point for each player that survived, plus 1 point for the difficulty of playing while paranoid. If the players win, and there was a player with an evil agenda, the players score 1 point for each player that survived, plus 5 bonus points for thwarting the evil player. If the evil player loses, he scores 0 points. If an evil player wins, he scores 2 points for each good player that died. I'm going to say right now, even though this is the commentary I want to add is about, house rules or clarifications or just my own experience, nothing about scoring this, as it's described here, appeals to me. It seems already interesting enough to win or lose together, or win or lose in teams based on alien or hidden agenda. To add on top of that a kind of scoring mechanism that makes it kind of potentially metagame. I don't know. It doesn't seem that interesting. But if you want to do that, go for it. Don't let me stop you. Achievements. When you draw a new hand, it has no basic cards in it. When you... Oh, these are more things for... These are more achievements for the scoring. When you combo 3 different class symbols on the same turn, if you have all 5 different class symbols in your hand or in front of you, if the HQ is all in one class, if the HQ is in all 5 classes. That's just all bragging rights stuff, I guess. Playing through the movies. We suggest playing through the movies for your first several games. To do so, use the following cards. So this part won't make sense for me to read completely, but basically it's just saying what I described that I always do, which is taking the location, objective 1, 2, and 3, and hive 1, 2, and 3, characters, and, everything for each movie, and putting them together, and not kind of separating them further, especially the character cards. So, like, the Alien Movie 1 characters are Warrant Officer Ripley, Captain Dallas, Chief Engineer Parker, Navigator Lambert, and then they each have several card types that go with them. So that's what I recommend doing. Now, in the expansion, there's new scenarios added that are not in the movie, so to me it feels more okay to kind of mix and match parts of them. But they still kind of work cohesively, just the location and plus objectives plus, characters that work with it. Combining legendary encounters with legendary. If you have previous superhero versions of legendary, or just any other, legendary games like Predator, you can mix your aliens and legendary cards together in a variety of ways. When playing legendary encounters, you can use legendary heroes in place of some or all of the alien characters in the barracks. You can use villains and or henchmen in place of drones. Special rules: if a legendary card says you take a wound, you draw a strike instead. If a legendary card says to KO a wound, heal a strike instead. If a legendary card says has an escape ability that happens when the card enters the combat zone. If a legendary card has an ambush ability, it works like the reveal ability. If a legendary card has a fight ability, it works like the death ability. See below for more terminology swaps. When playing legendary, you can use alien characters in place of some or all of the legendary heroes in the hero deck. You can use aliens and other enemies in place of the villain's henchmen in the villain deck. Special rules: if an alien card says to draw a strike, gain a wound instead. If an alien card says to heal a strike, you may KO a wound in your hand or discard pile instead. If an alien card has a reveal ability, it works like an ambush ability. If an alien card has a death ability, it works like a fight ability. If an alien card has a strike ability, it occurs. Strike ability, it occurs when the alien escapes the city. If an effect says to turn a card face down, ignore it. Terminology swap. In either game, treat these terms as being the same. Barracks is the same as hero deck. Hive is the same as villain deck. Sergeant is the same as shield officer. The city is the same as the complex. Kill is the same as KO. Character is the same as hero. Enemy is the same as villain or henchman. Class symbol. The symbols for each class are the same in both games. In either case, if some game's text doesn't make sense, just ignore it, such as rescuing a bystander in Legendary encounters or completing an objective in Legendary. So I don't see myself ever trying to match them together. There's just too many terminology swaps for it to feel, elegant to me or be interesting enough thematically. But for some people, it might be perfect to have Wolverine fight aliens. That's cool, but I won't do that. On the back page, there's the game contents and the credits. Certainly check your game to make sure you have all of the game contents listed here. It's not really the rules per se. Then also check out the credits, all the wonderful people who worked on this fantastic game. And I may sound cheesy saying that, but I'm not being sarcastic. They genuinely did a great job, and, I'm grateful that this game is out there. I love it, and I think it's terrific and outstanding. And it brings to life the movies I really love of aliens in a great game, and the movies that I don't love and I think are terrible. In a sense, it turns them into what they should have been as movies. So this is the Alien 3 that should have been. So thanks very much for watching. Let me know if you have any comments, questions. Subscribe, please. That'd be great. I love subscribers. And I love you. Thanks for watching.